Good morning students, Bindu Chaudhary is with you in your social science class, and today as usual in our social science class we are covering unit 3rd of social and political life part 3rd, and in this unit 3rd we are covering about the judiciary, and in chapter 5 we are considering this chapter judiciary, and today we are taking our part 3rd. Part 3rd introduced what are the different branches of the legal system, as we had discussed about the judiciary system, different levels of judiciary system as Supreme Court, High Court and lower courts, and how if any decision taken by Supreme Court always followed by High Courts and the lower courts, and if any person thought that the lower court or high court had taken decision against him and that him or her was not accused, and only on that time what happens student, that person appealed to the next court. It means from lower court to high court or from high court to the Supreme Court, where Chief Justice of India was there. At present we have Chief Justice of India in New Delhi in our Supreme Court. So today we are discussing about this issue, about the different branches of the legal system, as we had discussed about the case of Lakshman and Shakuntala, Lakshman's mother, as well as brother-in-law Subhash Chandra Bose. Brother-in-law of whom students? Brother-in-law of Sudha, who died from the lit of fire. Okay, so all the cases are there, and with the decisions of the Supreme Court what happens student, we had discussed about the case here that Sudha was witnesses are in favor of them, and with their all these lawyers help, with the help of the witnesses, what happens students, Lakshman as well as his mother Shakuntala was sentenced to death, and brother-in-law was totally free because evidences were not against him. So we are continuing here. What are the different branches of the legal system? When we are considering about the legal system students, then see the above case of the dowry death. Above case, it means the case of Sudha versus whom? Delhi administration versus Lakshman Kumar and others in the year 1985. We are discussing that case related to this one. The above case of the dowry death falls within what is considered a crime against society and is a violation of a criminal law, because not only Sudha's death was there. See, this one is the crime against society, because each member of the society played an important role. In addition to the criminal law, the legal system also deals with civil law cases. Yes, legal system also plays important role with the civil law system. How civil law cases handles with this? See, we read in our chapter 4th of how a new civil law was passed in 2006. For what? It passed to protect women against domestic violence, and all these happened from the 1990s to 2006, and in the 2006 what happens, we had discussed in our chapter 4th about the new civil law. For what? For the protection of women against domestic violence. So look at the following table to understand some of the significant differences between criminal and civil law. Some differences are there, we will consider it here with the criminal law and civil law. When we are considering, our first point relates that deals with conduct or acts that the law defines as offences. For example, theft, harassing a woman to bring more dowry, and murder, etc. So this one comes in the criminal law. What about civil law? Deals with any harm or injury to rights of individuals. See, rights of individuals. For example, disputes relating to sale of land, purchase of goods, rent matters, divorce cases, etc. When we are considering our second point denotes that it usually begins with the lodging of an FIR. It means first information report. We will discuss FIR in our next chapter student. with the police who investigate the crime, after which a case is filed in the court. Yes, we will discuss about the role of the police as well as FIR in our next chapter. But what's happened here? See, in criminal law, it usually begins with the lodging of an FIR. And what we will discuss in civil law, students, a petition has to be filed before the relevant court by the affected party only. In a rent matter, either the landlord or tenant can file a case. It means civil law is totally different. Here against we have next point of difference here. It found guilty, the accused can be sent to jail and also fined in criminal law. And what about in civil law, students? The court gives the specific relief asked for. For instance, in a case between a landlord and a tenant, the court can order the flat to be vacated and pending rent to be paid. Yes, on the basis of the different decisions taken by the civil law courts and these criminal law courts. All these decisions are based, all these differences are based on this one. And when we are discussing about these criminal laws and civil laws, we will discuss here, does everyone have access to the courts? क्या कोई भी कोर्ट में जा सकते हैं क्या? ऐसा नहीं है कि कोर्ट कोई घूमने की जगह है कि कोई भी जा सकते हैं क्या? But if any issue arises, then only that time, if anyone, maybe of upper class, maybe of poor class, maybe of any caste, maybe of any religion, allowed to access to the courts or not, students, this one is the main point here. So, we will consider here, in principle, all citizens of India can access the court in this country. It means in our constitution it is written that all the citizens of India can access the courts in this country, maybe lower court, maybe high court or maybe supreme court. This implies that every citizen has a right to justice through the courts. See, what's the right? Right to justice to all the citizens of India through the different courts. As you read earlier, the courts play a very significant role in protecting our fundamental rights. Yes, we had discussed a lot about the fundamental rights and how all these fundamental rights protected by the courts. Yes, just discussed about our Sudha's case, about Delhi administration versus Lakshman Kumar and others case. If any citizen believes that their rights are being violated, then they can approach the court for justice to be done. It is clearly written in our constitution. If any right are being violated by anyone, maybe by the government, maybe by the citizens, maybe by the any members of the India country. See, while the courts are available for all, in reality what's happened, students? When we are discussing about that all the courts are available for all the citizens of India, then what's the reality here? In reality, access to courts has always been difficult for a vast majority of the poor in India. We had a large members of poor in our India. So, it is not possible that all the people access to the court, because many people don't know their fundamental rights. Many people don't know their own rights about the as a citizen of India, about as the main member of the India's country. See, legal procedures involve a lot of money. One more situation about that all the poor peoples not taken decision to access the courts for what? For the legal procedures. In legal procedures, it involves a lot of money as well as paperwork, as well as take up a lot of times, and sometimes 30 years, 24 years, 25 years, or it may depends on the judges, it may depends on the witnesses, it may depends on the lawyers, how they had taken dates, extended dates are there. For a poor person who cannot read and whose family depends on a daily wage, the idea of going to court to get justice often seems remote. हम खुद भी जानते हैं बच्चों, जो एक ऐसा व्यक्ति है कि जो कि आज ही कमा रहा है और आज ही उसका खर्चा हो रहा है, इट मीन्स डेली वेजेस के ऊपर जो डिपेंड है, क्या उसके पास में इतना पैसा होगा, इतना टाइम होगा, इतना उसके पास में पेपर वर्क करने के लिए माइंड होगा? बिकॉज ऑल द पुअर पर्सन्स हैव नो प्रॉपर एजुकेशन, नो प्रॉपर मनी, नो प्रॉपर टाइम विद देम, बिकॉज दे वर्क्स ऑन द डेली बेसिस. सो इट्स नॉट पॉसिबल that they had an idea to go to court to get justice, and it often seems too remote to these poor people. See, when we are discussing about the poor people, see what's the condition? Drought was there in this picture, and the condition is there that buffalo died. And what's the next one? Person works on the daily wages. Then how these people seems to be to take a decision for being to take a part in the court for their own benefit. Another reason, see, many women are there who are not properly educated. See the condition, why these people, why these students, especially school students, are taking midday meal. You have midday meals in your schools also. How all these provides? Have your mother or anyone else put a case against the government or against the fundamental rights of the people? And for what decisions, for what reasons all these things happen that you all are allowed to take midday meals in your schools? Anyone is there to take decisions in behalf of you? So what's the matter? What's all these things there? What's the situation behind all these scenarios? See, in response to this, the Supreme Court in the early 1980s devised a mechanism of public interest litigation, or we will call it PIL. When we are considering about public interest litigation, it means any people file the case to the court to assess the justice to the poor people. Not a person considered themselves or himself or herself that they will appeal to the court. It allowed any individual or organization, not only individual, organizations are also allowed to file a PIL, public interest in litigation, in the High Court or the Supreme Court on behalf of those whose rights were being violated. It means fundamental rights are violated by anyone, then all the organization, maybe organizations, maybe the individual person, have a right to assess them to the High Court or the Supreme Court as a PIL, public interest litigation. And on the behalf of whom? On the behalf of the peoples. The legal process was greatly simplified, and even a letter or telegram addressed to the Supreme Court or the High Court could be treated as a PIL. अब इतना मुश्किल नहीं रह गया है किसी भी केस को अपने हाई कोर्ट या सुप्रीम कोर्ट में भेजना. वाई ऑल दीज थिंग्स आर पॉसिबल स्टूडेंट्स? ऑल दीज थिंग्स आर पॉसिबल विद द हेल्प ऑफ अ लेटर और अ टेलीग्राम. इफ एनी पर्सन sent a letter or a telegram addressed to whom? Addressed to Supreme Court or the High Court. All these things treated as a PIL, and with the help of the PIL, High Courts and Supreme Courts takes decisions. In the early years, PIL was used to secure justice on a large number of issues such as rescuing bonded laborers from inhuman work conditions and securing the release of prisoners in Bihar who had been kept in jail even after their punishment term was completed. So many reasons are behind all these situations about PIL. The more two important reasons we are discussing here, that what happens, first one, रेस्क्यूइंग बॉन्डेड लेबरर्स, बंधुआ मजदूर हम जिनको कहते हैं बच्चों, उन बंधुआ मजदूरों को PIL के माध्यम से छुड़ाया गया. सेकेंड वन इज़ द रिलीज ऑफ द प्रिजनर्स इन बिहार, बिकॉज आफ्टर द complete punishment from the court, all these people are still in jail. So with the help of the PIL, all these were released from this one. when we are discussing about this main important issue, then we had discussed one picture also, the picture of midday meal. What's happened there? Did you know that the midday meal that children now receive in government and government aided schools is because of a PIL? आपको जो मिड डे मील स्कूलों में प्रोवाइड किया जा रहा है बच्चों, तो क्या वह PIL के माध्यम से है? ऑल गवर्नमेंट स्कूल्स एंड ऑल एडेड स्कूल्स provided midday meal with the help of this PIL? Is it okay or not? We will discuss it. See the photos on the right and read the text below to understand how this came about. हमने एक पिक्चर आपको डिस्कस किया था बच्चों, पिक्चर डिस्कस किया था, पिक्चर ऑफ सम स्टूडेंट्स eating midday meal in school, and with the help of that picture in context we will see here the main decision quote. It stated that the fundamental right to life guaranteed in Article 21 of the Constitution includes the right to food. जब हम right to food की बात कर रहे हैं, on that time we will consider Article 21 of our fundamental rights, which allowed that all the persons have a right to food, and this is the main fundamental right, and court takes the decision for this. When the states accused that it did not have adequate funds was shown to be wrong because the godowns were overflowing with grains. It's okay, sometimes government with the appeal said that we had no proper food facilities, but on that time the godowns were overflowing with the grains. So the situations in the case is not that one as we thought. The Supreme Court ruled that the state had a duty to provide food to all, and with the help of the PIL, Supreme Court had taken decision that the main fundamental right, Article 21 expressed that all the persons had a fundamental right to food, and with this one all the governments had a duty to provide food to everyone. See, for the common person, access to courts is access to justice. And what's the court had taken decision? It means it had taken decisions that all the common person access to court, it means access to justice. As this midday meal system, no students went to the courts, but Supreme Court had taken decision with the help of the PIL. The courts exercise a crucial role in interpreting the fundamental rights of citizens, and as we saw in the above case, the courts interpreted Article 21 of the Constitution on the right to life to include the right to food. अब हमें पता चल गया है Article 21 क्या कह रहा है बच्चों? Right to food. अब जब हम right to life की बात कर रहे हैं, it means right to life includes the right to food. So all the peoples allowed themselves that they had a right to life. It means they had a right to food by the government side. As you know, BPL cards are there, and some provisions are made by the government to the peoples that with a very minimum price the government issued them ration cards, and with the help of these BPL cards, APL cards, the government provides some grains, some wheats and some kerosene etc. to the people. It depends on the states to states, that some provides rice, some provides wheats etc. They therefore ordered the state to take certain steps to provide food for all, including the midday meal scheme. That's why this midday meal scheme comes to school, and with the help of the Supreme Court, with the help of the High Courts, all these orders were issued to the states that all the necessary steps to provide food for all the people, especially the poor people, because rich people gained themselves. However, there are also court judgments that people believe work against the best interest of the common person, and this is the reality of the situation. For example, when we are taking this one, activists who work on issues concerning the right to shelter. We had discussed about right to life in Article 21. It means right to food. Then we are taking our next step here. The next step considered about the right to shelter and housing for the poor. believe that the recent judgments on evictions are far cry from earlier judgments. अभी तक हम जितनी situations देख रहे थे उससे much better जो governments हैं, जो judiciary systems हैं, they played an important role for the benefit of the poor people, as Article 21 provide food as shelter, right to shelter and housing facilities to the poor peoples. While recent judgments tend to view the slum dwellers as an encroacher in the city. Earlier judgments, it means the judgments of the 1985 Olga Tallis versus Bombay Municipal Corporation, and when we are discussing about Olga Tallis case, then it had tried to protect the livelihood of slum dwellers. जब हम कहते हैं झुग्गी झोंपड़ियों वालों को जो बॉम्बे म्यूनिसिपल बोर्ड था उन्होंने हटाने की कोशिश की, and on that time in the year 1985 Olga Tallis and others had filed a case against this one. We had discussed one issue, here we are discussing another issue that affects the common person's access to justice is the inordinately long number of years that courts takes to hear a case. Yes, we already know that how much long a case runs in a court. So for what? The phrase justice delayed is justice denied. This is the real phrase is often used to characterize this extended time period that courts take. So, however, in spite of this, there is no denying that the judiciary has played a crucial role in democratic India. So, with the help of the judiciary's crucial role serving as a check on the powers of the executive and the legislature, as well as in protecting the fundamental rights of the citizens. It means judiciary plays an important role to hold the power on the legislature as well as for the executive as far as the fundamental rights of the citizens of India. The members of the Constituent Assembly had quite correctly envisioned a system of courts with an independent judiciary as a key feature of our democracy. So, the concept is totally clear in your mind about the judiciary portion, about the important levels of the courts in India, Supreme Court, then High Court, and in the last lower courts, and what the main rights PILs are there by the help of the people, for the help of the people. So, many things are related with the courts, many things are related with the judiciary, and how judiciary holds power on legislature, power on executive, and the protection of the fundamental rights of the citizens of India. Yes, an important role played by the judiciary. We will discuss more in this and our new session. So, let's stay with us and have a nice day.